Before we talk about the pyramids, we need to admit something. A pyramid is not a building. It's a decision. A decision so expensive, so unnecessary for biological survival, and so brutally demanding that by all logic, it should not exist. And yet, it has dominated the horizon for 5 millennia. The real question isn't, how did Egypt build a pyramid? The question is, why did anyone agree to build one? Stone doesn't move itself. A society moves stone. And the first pyramid was not built to honor a dead man. It was built to prove that the system of the living worked. Think about what death means in a world where power is sacred. If the pharaoh is the hinge between order and chaos, he cannot simply vanish like an ordinary peasant. If the king dies an ordinary death, he teaches a dangerous lesson to the people that the king is ordinary. For the state to survive, death needed to become theater, a controlled transition, a ritual that the government could manage like a harvest. But the state, until then, was invisible. It existed only in papers and distant rituals. For a system to last generations, it needed something the population could not ignore. It needed a demonstration of force so colossal that doubt became irrational. Djoser, the pharaoh, found the man capable of turning governance into geometry, Imhotep. History would remember him as a mage or healer, but what made him truly powerful were systems. Imhotep understood that Egypt's strength was not stone, it was coordination. He proposed something the world had never seen, not a larger tomb, but a structure built as if the entire kingdom had become a workshop. He didn't just design a monument, he designed a form of contract, not written in law, but in collective effort, turn people into infrastructure. Here is the secret the photos don't reveal. The pyramid is not just made of blocks, it is made of calendars. Egypt didn't build like a modern company. It built when nature allowed it. When the Nile flooded the fields and agriculture stopped, the state didn't just tax grain, it taxed time. It said, this season you belong to the project. If you accept that, the impossible becomes logistical. The Saqqara pyramid began as a flat mastaba and accumulated layers. Each new step was a political proof that supply lines worked, that labor could be rotated without chaos, and that the scribes' records kept the machine honest. But let's look at the ground, away from the pharaoh's gold. Imagine a man. We don't know his name, nor if he came from the Delta or Memphis. What we do know is that he was one of the thousands who arrived at Saqqara during the flood. He pulled 2.5-ton blocks on wooden sledges. He poured water on the sand to reduce friction inch by inch, under a rhythm dictated by shouts and tensioned ropes. He moved the stone 10 meters a day for 3 months. Then he went home to plant his grain, and the next year he returned. Did he return because he believed in the king's sacredness, or because the scribe who recorded his name would mark him absent if he didn't? The records don't say. What we know is that he returned year after year until the pyramid was finished, or until he himself was no longer there. The pyramid still stands. His name does not. The sound of construction was not heroic music. It was the sound of ropes creaking, wood under pressure, sand, and heavy breathing. It was the small, repeated decisions that prevented collapse. The Step Pyramid is, in truth, a broadcast tower. A message sent to every village along the Nile. The center holds. The king is permanent, the system is real. It doesn't just sit upon the desert, it installs itself inside the mind. It teaches that if the state can do this, it can do anything. It creates what a young state needs most, a sense of inevitability. A pyramid is the shadow cast by a society that has solved logistics. It doesn't mark the beginning of Egyptian power. It is the final evidence that it had already won. In the end, Imhotep's work fulfilled its mission. It petrified an idea. What began in Saqqara as a tomb ended as the coding of civilization's DNA. The discovery that the true building material is not granite, but organized trust. Djoser and his architect didn't just raise a stone structure. They proved that if we can organize the effort of millions around a common goal, we can manufacture our own eternity. The pyramids remain there, silent, not to tell us how men died, but to remind us of what we are capable of doing when we decide to transform time into immortality.